My name is Average Joe, and I'm a proud geek with expertise in movies, superheroes, and animation.
My name is Beef Pork Ribs. I'm a fine repository of esoteric knowledge, which I suppose most people would qualify as geeky. Though I dabble in many fandoms, my main areas of expertise are anime, movies, and Belgian comics, with a strong recent insurgency of D&D.
Our mission is to bring nerd and geek culture to the masses
by sticking it all under the microscope.
Welcome to the Bat Jar Podcast.
Movies, comics, graphic novels, TV, cartoons, animation, nerds are geeks, entertainment culture. Hear it on the Bat Jar, Nerdy Power. Nerds and geeks, come gather around the scene. Come and join us in the Bat Jar. Come and tune into Average Joe and his team. Lots of room here in the Bat Jar. When the newest nerdy news drops, these podcast pals put it under the scope. DC, Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, cinematic multiverses, mega Christmas, Strangest franchise. Hear it on the Bat Jar, Nerdy Power.
Hello there, and welcome to the Bat Jar Podcast, where we put nerd and geek culture under the microscope. Sadly, Beef Pork Ribs could not be with us tonight. They are still taking care of baby stuff and family stuff, and that's okay. We encourage family stuff here on the Bat Jar Podcast. And, you know, we kind of left it as a cliffhanger in the last episode, like every good movie should, setting up sequels. We left it in the air. We said, we're either going to talk about George of the Jungle or Paw Patrol. And I put a vote out to our friends in the Bat Jar Messenger group, and most people voted for the No Way Home trailer. But one person voted for Paw Patrol, and Dee Dee, who's here with us today, made a case for why we should talk about the Paw Patrol movie. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the Paw Patrol movie. So good introduction there. Dee Dee, you are back on the show for the first time, I think, since we talked about Frozen 2.
Yes, so like a year, almost 2 years, I guess, because that came out in 2019, pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic
like the last
times.
movies I saw in the theaters.
Feels like 100
pandemic
years
started.
ago. Yeah, actually, that's probably the last movie I saw, and then I saw the Paw Patrol movie the other day, so... Way to continue my streak of children's movies.
Yeah, so we have not had many opportunities to connect, and our listeners haven't had a chance to talk to you at all since the pandemic started. So what kind of nerdy or geeky things have you been able to do? And with kids, I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, really, it's been a lot of survival mode. I binge watched The Office, I think twice, maybe 3 times. I don't know if that's nerdy or geeky, but I know there's a...
I think it is. There's this fandom around The Office that I
Yes.
just don't understand.
Oh, Average Joe, I will enlighten you another time, but The Office is excellent, and I watched a lot of The Office. I started listening to podcasts about The Office.
That Office Ladies one?
Office Ladies, and then Brian Baumgartner, he plays Kevin on The Office. He's had 2 podcasts, which are kind of more long-form interviews. They're really interesting. And he interviews, like, actors on the show, but also like lots of the background people. I find it really interesting, so I've been really getting into that. I've watched a lot of random Netflix things that aren't super nerdy or geeky, but
have you kept up with Outlander?
Yes,
has there been more Outlander?
There was a new season of Outlander that came out, and finally came out on I watched it. Yeah, I watched the new season of Outlander, and the new Outlander book. The author finally is releasing another book after many years. Book number 9 of 10. She said she's going to write 10 books. This is book number 9. It's coming out in November. So she thought she'd have it done last year, but then pandemic happened, so got a bit delayed, but it's going to come out. So I'm really excited for that. I am probably going to pre-order it. Because, yeah.
As one does when you're a big fan.
Yes, and I'm trying to catch up on all of the Marvel movies. The last one I have to watch is... I haven't watched Captain Marvel yet.
But you've seen, like, Black Widow?
Oh, okay, that one and Black Widow. I haven't watched Black Widow yet because I don't want to shell out $30 to rent it.
It'll be free on Disney Plus in October.
Excellent! October.
It's actually $35 Canadian. So it's
so
not worth
sad.
$35 on Disney Plus. I have the Premier Access, and I will admit it.
That gives me enough time to watch Captain Marvel. And my husband, has been watching the Marvel movies with my boys, not my eldest, but at bedtime they'll watch like 15 minutes of a movie, and they've worked their way. They're on Black Panther now. They're watching them in chronological order. It's not the
Wow.
order they came out in, but in the order that they're aged
Yeah.
year
Disney
wise or
Plus is
whatever.
really plugging that timeline order.
Yeah, so they're really into that, and I watched all of Loki and like WandaVision and stuff like that. I started watching What If. Have you done an episode about What If?
No, we
The What If
haven't.
show?
It's only been 3 episodes so far. I find with
Okay.
those ones, it's better to wait till it's all done for us to talk about it because,
Yeah.
yeah, there's
True,
not,
true,
especially
true.
with What If, there's not too much to say. It's like, oh, that was interesting, or that was fun. Like the
That's
episodes are like standalone.
that's true. It's interesting though that they're bringing in the concept of the multiverse, which I guess would play into talking about the Spider-Man
Yes,
trailer.
good segue. Yes, we would
Still
be.
got it.
We don't. It's kind of hit or miss when we talk about the news these days. But gosh darn it, a new trailer is out for Spider-Man No Way. I say a new trailer, a trailer. There hadn't been a trailer, even though this movie's supposed to come out in like 4 months. They finally put out a trailer. Apparently, it leaked online somewhere. I couldn't find the leaked version, and they say that Sony put out the official trailer in response to it leaking.
Okay. I did see
The
like
official.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. The official podcast,
As
the
I say, the
official trailer.
official explanation is that there was this event going on this past week called CinemaCon, which I'd heard people refer to CinemaCon before, but I didn't know what it was. And apparently, it's like a Comic-Con, but for theater chains. So like, they'll go to this thing, and all the studios will be making presentations about movies that they're going to have coming out in the next year to try to incentivize them to, hey, like take this movie, play this movie. And it was after Sony's panel at this event where they showed the trailer there that they then posted online for everybody.
Okay, I see. Because yeah, like it came up in my suggested news feed like the day before the official one came out, because then a bunch of my friends were posting the link to the video, but it was similar, but it was different because it had Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in the trailer, but then it also had like Willem Dafoe and the other guy's name, Doc Ock, the actor. And then I was
Alfred
like
Molina.
I was watching the official trailer, and I was like looking for the other Spider-Mans, and I didn't see them, but I did see Doc Ock, and that was really exciting.
So you actually saw the leaked version or the whatever was put out.
I must have, but then I'm the type of person that goes on, like, if I'm watching anything, I go on IMDb. So I was like looking on IMDb to see if there's credits for the other Spider-Mans, and I didn't see their names in the credits, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's been we've talked about it a couple times. There's so many rumors, and it seems like they're not officially going to tell us that they're in the movie, but there's all kinds of things hinting towards it.
It would make sense. And to have like my boys really like Miles Morales, so it would be cool if they had Miles Morales in there some way, because I know he only made his entrance into the MCU in the kind of as a cartoon. But oh, hello, I have a little friend.
We are used to having special friends join us. Those, you guys can't see this, but there's one of Dee Dee's children is joining us for the conversation today. But I was very excited for this because there's been so many official announcements, rumors, and I was getting scared because with the pandemic, with the Delta variant in the United States, movies that are coming out now are making less and less money, and we're starting to see movies push their release dates farther into the future again. And I was getting scared. I'm like, the second they start promoting a movie, that usually means they're intending to release it. So the fact that we hadn't seen a trailer yet for Spider-Man made me worry that they were going to push the release date farther ahead. Because obviously they would want to release it.
Yeah, isn't that what happened with, like, did that happen with Black Widow?
Oh yeah, it's happened with like pretty much every movie that has been released in the past year and a half.
Yeah, its
release date's been shifted a little bit or a lot.
Not the Paw Patrol movie. It came out.
Not the Paw Patrol movie, surprisingly.
But yeah, seriously. we were talking about.
So the fact that they've actually put this trailer out would suggest that they're at least semi-committed to releasing this movie in December when it's supposed to come out.
Mhm.
I'm just
I
too
mean,
excited. I do not. Most of the movies that have been delayed, I'm like, whatever. Sure, it can come out later. In fact, some of them I think they should just throw onto a streaming service and don't bother anymore. Like this James Bond movie, like I don't care.
Oh,
But I really want to see this Spider-Man movie, so I really hope it doesn't get delayed. And this trailer coming out is at least a sign that it will hopefully come out when it's supposed to come out.
well, I mean, The Eternals is supposed to come out, right? In next month or the month
November.
after November. So they seem pretty intent on doing that. Hopefully, because I think they spent a lot
Yeah,
of
I know
money
it's a little
on
more
it, and I'm
complicated
sure.
here because it involves Marvel and Sony. So like Sony, I think has more control over when this one particular one comes
Oh, with
out.
Spider-Man, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there
It'll
might be
be.
more timeliness also because it ties into what has been established in WandaVision and Loki in a way.
Mhm.
So maybe it's like this one has a timestamp. Like if it delays things too long, it has to come out before the next Doctor Strange because that is all
That's
about
what I
the
was gonna
multiverse.
say. It has, yeah. It obviously they're obviously doing something that's tying into what they're releasing on Disney Plus and what's happening, and it seems like this is kind of the catalyst, well, part of the catalyst for the multiverse. Although what happened at the end of Loki obviously also has a lot to do with this whole multiverse situation that we're seeing, but it's really cool how they're able to tie it all in together. Like, I'm really impressed with that, how
Yeah,
they're
and who knows
tying
if
things
this
in
it's going
together.
to end up flopping for them hard if they can't put this movie out. Who knows?
I'm sure,
I'm
like,
guessing you've seen the trailer. You've watched it.
yes, I have. Yes,
Okay.
a couple of times, maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, I watch other people's reaction videos just to like see how if they react the same way I did when I first saw it. Do you have like a favorite moment from the trailer?
I mean, I always like the funny parts. So, like when I'm super bad with names because I have small children, so my brain is Swiss cheese. But the part where what's Doctor Strange's like buddy? Is it
Oh,
Wang?
Wong.
Wong. Okay, see, close. When he's like, "Don't cast the spell," and then he's like, "Oh, I won't. Don't worry." And then he leaves, and he's like, "Whatever. I'm gonna cast the spell." I don't know. I found that part pretty funny. And then also when they reveal Alfred Molino,
Yes, Alfred Molina.
yes, at the end, you're like, that gave me chills. Like, I was like, oh, like, it's so cool. It's so cool how they are able to tie in all the Sony Spider-Mans because, like, I grew up watching the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, so I would think that I would have a bit of an affinity towards that. Like, my husband and I were talking about that. He's like, oh, like the Tobey Maguire movie is like classic Spider-Man movie, but I really like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Like, I feel like he really embodies the character really well, and also he's like more of a teenager.
Yep.
Which kind of helps. Like, it's easier to envision him as that. But I appreciate like he's not as brooding and like as Tobey Maguire was. Like, he's much more funny and it's more entertaining to watch that. So I really like his Spider-Man, but I'm really like I'm looking forward to see how they're gonna tie in all the Spider-Man franchises into this one Spider-Man and see what is gonna happen. Because like you said, like it's Disney and Sony, so what's Sony gonna do after this? Because Tom Holland he's not contracted to be Spider-Man anymore, right? Like they can't use Spider-Man after this movie.
I think he is. Well, Sony can keep using Tom Holland until they're blue in the face.
Yeah, but I mean Disney.
Disney can't. Yeah, I think he has
Yeah.
like two. I think he's the renewed contract was for like 3 appearances. So like this movie counts as one, and then if he's in like 2 other things. I think the moment I was most excited about was the moment where you see the pumpkin bomb and you hear a distorted version of Willem Dafoe laughing because Alfred Molina's involvement was very much confirmed. It's like we knew he was going to be in the movie. So like him showing up, I'm like, oh, that's. But everything with Willem Dafoe was like hush hush rumors, and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be great if he actually was back in this movie too?
See, like
because
I
instead
knew
of
they
like
were going to
trying
make
to.
this movie. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh,
I'm too excited.
I
I'm
knew
just
they were
talking
making
over
this.
you.
I knew they were going to make this movie, but I like totally forgot because like life and like so I didn't even know. Like I knew it was happening like in the back of my brain, but I like completely forgot that it was happening. So seeing the trailer, and I didn't know that Alfred Molina was going to be in it. Like I just knew there was going to be a third Spider-Man movie at some point. So, but yeah, I could totally see how not knowing that Willem Dafoe was going to be in it, and like I'm really curious to see if the other Spider-Mans are in it too, because that would be super
Yeah,
cool.
I've seen lots of things that like someone leaked a set photo of one of them. Some Uber driver confirmed like dropping Andrew Garfield off somewhere in Atlanta where they filmed this. So there seems to be lots of things suggesting they will be there. But of course, thankfully they didn't spoil that in this trailer. In fact, if this is the only trailer we get for this movie, I'm fine with that. Like I want to be as surprised as possible.
You know what?
I just hope.
Honestly, you're right. You're right. It probably wouldn't be that bad because like with like movies like The Eternals, for like I don't know too much about that whole storyline, like that comic. So the trailer that they just put out, it made sense for them to make like an extended trailer where they explain the concept, because for people that are like, oh, what's happening? Like, what is this? Whereas like Spider-Man in this Tom Holland Spider-Man, like he's established enough that they could just leave it like this.
Well, there were some
just-
rumors there would be no trailer, and they would just
Oh,
like
wow.
throw all these
Just
dangling
drop it?
threads out there.
Jeez,
Like
Louise.
confirm because there's Charlie Cox
Tell
as
me
Matt
all the
Murdock is
rumors.
going to be in this. It's just I can't even. I really hope it gets released when it's supposed to come out.
Mhm. No, it'd be cool.
And I'm not the only one who's excited because this trailer broke the record for most watches of a trailer in the first 24 hours. Like 355 million times this trailer was viewed in its
more
first
than
day
like
of
the
release.
Endgame trailer. More
than the Endgame trailer. Endgame was the previous record holder, and this thing smashed that.
Yeah, I mean,
And I've
I
seen
watched
so
it
many
3 times.
memes and like people reacting and people making like memes out of shots from the trailer, which admittedly I haven't seen for any movie trailer recently. So that tells me there's like a level of excitement for this. Like I know I'm projecting because I have this level of excitement, but it seems like I'm not the only one. And it gives me hope because again, the trailer that had, they're doing this thing now, the movie analyst people, they're like, one of the earliest indicators to see if a movie will do well is how many views the first trailer got. My hope, my great expectation is that because this trailer has the most views of all time, beating Endgame, that, it obviously won't match Endgame's box office because of the pandemic, but there's certainly the hope that this could be the highest grossing movie of the pandemic time that we're living in.
Like, after having gone to the movies, finally, after a year and a half of not going to the movies, I was really pleasantly surprised with how safe I felt going to the movies. So if I was only going to go to one other movie this year, I would go to Spider-Man. Like Eternals,
it makes me
whatever,
feel
I can't
bad
wait
for
till it's
like
on
the
Disney
Eternals
Plus.
and for Shang-Chi. The fact that there isn't
Oh,
this much
yeah, like in the
excitement around the
timings.
trailers and stuff. It's like, oh, but frankly, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I don't really care about Shang-Chi or Eternals. I'll see them because they're part of the MCU and I like the MCU. But I haven't even watched those trailers. I'm like, whatever else. I know I'll see those movies anyway. Like, they don't need to convince me to go, and I'm not interested enough to watch them. But with Spider-Man, it's like, yes, give me everything.
I don't know. The Eternals previews are interesting. It's an interesting concept, but we're not talking about that right now. But yeah, I don't know. Spider-Man, just like have so much nostalgia about Spider-Man too, like watching the '60s cartoons, watching all the Spider-Man movies in theater. So like, I definitely have more of an affinity and more of a loyalty to Spider-Man than I do to the other newer kind of MCU people that are like Shang-Chi and the Eternals. Although the Eternals like
Shang-Chi,
really cool.
that's the correct pronunciation.
I apologize.
Simu Liu put out tweets showing us how to pronounce it, so
I appreciate that. I'm not. It's like when I was a kid reading Harry Potter and trying to pronounce Hermione. In my brain, I pronounced it Hermione, but it's Hermione. And I didn't know that till I watched the movie. So I'm gonna try my best to remember how to say it correctly, but anyway.
So if by chance you're not one of the 355 million people who watched the Spider-Man No Way Home teaser trailer, it does tell you a lot of what's happening in the movie, and it does kind of spoil some surprises that we've kind of spoiled here already. So you might as well go watch it, amp those views up, and pray that we can go see this movie December 17th.
And hey, if you don't like Spider-Man but you really like special effects, the special effects look pretty banging. So Just go watch it for
Yeah,
that.
if you like Doctor Strange, there's all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah. City
Speaking of
melting.
weird stuff, we're going to talk about Paw Patrol today. And
Definitely
partly,
weird.
yes, I mean, admittedly, we were partially influenced to choose this topic because Dee Dee, you made a case for why we should talk about the movie. But also, our most downloaded episode of all time is on Transformers Rescue Bots, a show designed for little kids. So I'm like, maybe there's this secret niche audience of people clamoring for content about kids shows that we can possibly fill. So I'm like, let's test it out. Let's go down that rabbit hole again of talking about some show that's like meant for little kids. So I feel the need, Dee Dee, to preamble this by saying, like, I understand Paw Patrol is meant for little kids and that you're not meant to think about it too much. So my like poking holes and asking questions about the universe, it's all in jest, it's all in fun. I'm not trying to be overcritical of a show designed for toddlers. In
No,
case
that's
anyone
okay.
thinks I'm just some kind of Mayor Humdinger type.
Very on brand there.
So let's just start with our secret origin segments. How were you first introduced to Paw Patrol?
I have children. That's how it was introduced.
So how long
there's
would
not
you have
really-
been exposed to it for now?
Oh, geez.
Years? 5 years? 6
yeah.
years?
5 years. I got maybe 6 years. I think I probably let back when I was a new parent and I didn't realize that babies can entertain themselves for 5 seconds. I definitely remember putting my daughter into her little bouncy chair in the bathroom, setting up my laptop so she could like be entertained by Paw Patrol while I took a shower for 5 minutes. So yes, but yeah, a long time ago. But now, like we are bought into the Paw Patrol. We have Paw Patrol Ultimate Vehicles. We have Paw Patrol Ride-On cars. We have Paw Patrol figurines. We have Paw Patrol stuffies. Paw Patrol clothes. Like it's Paw Patrol and My Little Pony. They compete for number one in my kids' hearts right now. So
Wow. As a former
Yep.
brony, I don't know how to feel about that. But
Yes, my 6-year-old loves My Little Pony, but it's sometimes it's a little bit too scary for her. Whereas Paw Patrol is in the sweet spot of, everything's gonna turn out all right. Everybody works together. There's always something funny that happens because one of the Paw Patrol guys is a klutz, so everybody enjoys Paw Patrol. So yes.
yeah, I think it was
So
around
let's talk about it.
2015, 2016 where just having friends who have kids, it's like one of the popular shows that gets put on TV, or it's on their toys, the merchandise, and that's, we'll talk about that a bit more later. But I just had a general awareness that Paw Patrol was a thing, and you sit down and watch a couple episodes and you realize there's a formula and it works, and they do things to mix it up once in a while, but it's pretty harmless fun for kids. I actually went as far as to dress up as one of the human character for Halloween a few years ago.
I remember that. I forgot about that.
I ordered a fancy vest off of Etsy to get the exact vest, but I could not get my hair to stick up quite as tall as Ryder's does. That was kind of my downfall.
He's quite voluminous locks. Yes, his hair is gravity defying.
Yeah, Jimmy Neutron could take notes from him.
He would be proud. Yeah, definitely. Like if you have a kid or if you have friends with kids, as long as you know like the basics of Paw Patrol, those kids will think you're like the coolest person ever because they can talk to you about Paw Patrol. And I don't know any kids that don't like Paw Patrol. I don't think.
So if you were meeting someone for the first time who had never seen Paw Patrol, like how would you describe the concept?
I would say it's a kid show about dogs that rescue people in a little town called Adventure Bay, and it's cute. I don't know if that's helpful.
It's cute.
It's cute.
Now, there's a human boy named Ryder who's like the leader of the Paw Patrol, and they all call him Sir. So I'm like, are they all his pets? Like, is he their owner?
I think only Chase calls him. Only like the police dog calls him Sir because he says "Aye, aye, Ryder, Sir," or they all say that. But they call him also just Ryder. But I think when they're in like rescue mode, they call him Sir because he's like the I'm trying to think. The Q or the Alfred to like 007 or Batman, kind of like he's the person that like does all their gadgets, and he's the one that kind of like gives them their missions and kind of directs them. So maybe like they call him Sir because he's like kind of in a position of authority at that point. But I think they're all his pets. So in this movie, you get the like origin story of Chase. So that's like a big part of the film.
Yeah, now like typical kids franchises, there's a whole set of dogs, and they're all different breeds, and they all have different specialities. And I can't understand why like a recycling themed pet who has a garbage truck is in the same league as a construction worker or a pilot or a police dog. And then there's the water one too, Zuma. I'm like, you're like the
Yeah.
Aquaman in this group. Like, you're only useful when water's involved.
Yes, you're not wrong. The recycling guy, Rocky, he also like he carries around like random stuff in the back of his recycling truck. So like if they need to fix something, then he's usually like he has like a spare piece of wood, or he has like nails and a hammer as part of his kit too. So he is kind of like the fix it dog. And that sounds like extraneous because you also have a construction worker dog, but I don't know. They wanted to have diversity in their dog group. I have no idea, but there are many holes in Paw Patrol, and when you think about what's actually happening for more than 2 seconds, it makes no sense. It's crazy. There's talking dogs. They're the only animals that talk. Just the dogs. No other animals in Adventure Bay talk. They have vehicles and all sorts of like a fancy tower. And like there's a mare that has a chicken in her purse. Her purse chicken Chickaletta. And like yeah, it's like completely out there concept, but for kids it totally makes sense. And I don't know if you know this, but Paw Patrol was actually developed to sell toys. So Spin Master Toys, who owns Paw Patrol, the creators of Paw Patrol, they were like, what can we make up? Let's make a show that will sell toys. And they came up with Paw Patrol. So
yeah, I mean,
intentionally
so many shows are like that. I mentioned Transformers, My Little Pony. Like we go back to the 80s. There's so many shows.
Yeah, in the 80s when that was
made to sell toys.
What's Rainbow Bright or Strawberry
He-Man.
Shortcake. Like yeah, exactly. So very much in that long line of made to sell. But I don't know, Paw Patrol, they just the mix of the colors and the music and the dogs, like they just really clued in. But I think it's because like the kids, like the whole concept is like the kids will see themselves in like the characters of the dogs. The dogs are smaller, but they have a lot of agency and they're able to work together and do good things. So the kid, like it's supposed to be like kids can see themselves in that character, like they're able to put themselves into that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so.
there's a strong comparison to make to Rescue Bots, I would say, because it's like emergency services vehicles that get called in when there's something that goes wrong. And unlike that show where they're all adults working with the Transformers, here it's just a little boy who seemingly, there seems to be no law enforcement in Adventure Bay. Like whenever the head mayor has a problem, she calls the Paw Patrol.
Yep.
And that kind of worries me.
When any of the adults have a problem. When any of the adults have a problem, it's not just her. It's like every single adult. There's other kids too. Like there's a kid who owns the pet store kind of thing. She gives like she's like the groomer. So she's a kid that owns a business. There's a guy that runs a ferry boat, and he speaks in alliterations and rhymes. So Captain Turbot. And then you go deeper into the Paw Patrol, and then there's like all these like kind of spin-offs, which they don't get to in the movie. The movie is like really like OG Paw Patrol about the main guys. There's no like there's Mighty Pups where they get hit by a space asteroid, and then there's Dino Pups.
It's like a superhero one, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a superhero one that's Mighty Pups, and then there's Dino Pups where they go through like a magic tunnel and they go to a place where there's still dinosaurs. Like
wow. Very creative. Sounds like something right out of a comic book.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So it's pretty creative and pretty fun. But yeah, the Paw Patrol, even in this movie, they go to the big city, and the Paw Patrol are the ones that are taking care of everything, which
Yeah, and we'll get
is
into that a
crazy.
bit. I just want to say my favorite Paw Patrol character is Everest, the husky who's like the snow
Yes.
job of the Paw
The
Patrol
snowboarding
universe. And I get
husky.
it.
I
She's
like that
also like,
husky.
I would rather her be in the default setting, like in the starter pack, than Zuma,
Mhm.
the water rescue guy. I'm like, get Aquaman out of there. Give me Iceman instead.
Yes. Yeah, Everest is like, well, also because there's the boy, there's only one main girl dog. So for me as a person that has a daughter, I'm kind of like, oh, how come it's not even? How come there's not an even number of girls and boys dogs? So like they introduced Everest and I was like, yay, Everest. And Everest is cute. She's very like sunny. I like her personality.
Yeah. So shame on the movie makers for not putting Everest in there.
Yes.
But is it also fair to say this is all kind of like Power Rangers? It's like a group of multicolored people that drive vehicles and solve problems, and
Mm-hmm.
which again appeals to
Yeah, but
me.
they're
So I'm not
cartoons.
complaining about that.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, there's lots. There's lots
So
of
if you
different ones.
haven't watched any Paw Patrol, there's your little kind of explanation of what Paw Patrol is, because now we're going to dive into the Paw Patrol movie. And like many shows that get turned into a movie, it kind of assumes you know what the thing is you're watching. Like it doesn't do a whole lot to kind of welcome in newcomers. It does a little bit, but not a whole lot. So
Mhm.
there's your preamble. Without any further ado, Dee Dee, can you give us what would be the Blu-ray case description for Paw Patrol, the movie?
This August,
Adventure City's in trouble. Paw Patrol, ready for action.
the world is bigger.
Welcome to our new headquarters.
The gear is cooler.
Motorcycle deploy. Whoa, that's got a kick to it.
The adventure
This is so cool.
will knock your pants off.
Deploy wedgie drone.
That's so embarrassing.
Paw Patrol, the movie, rated G, in theaters August 20th.
The Paw Patrol go to the big city to stop Mayor Humdinger from being Mayor Humdinger about things. That's not very useful. Yeah, they go to the big city to, stop Mayor Humdinger from destroying it, and they meet a cool city pup named Liberty, and they proceed to solve the city problems, and Chase learns more about being a leader. I think that would be kind of my summary of it, but not quite as elegant as those people that write the backs of the Blu-ray discs.
Oh yeah, they're paid professionals. Within this movie premiered last weekend, it finished in second place behind Ryan Reynolds' Free Guy. Or no, this was 2 weeks ago now. We took a week off. But anyway, it debuted in second place. And then this past weekend, it came in third behind Free Guy and the horror movie Candyman. So it's made some money. It's made like $26 million total, which is, from what I can tell, par for the course for these kind of movies that are based on a kid's TV show. And I kind of mentioned there is a long tradition going back to the 80s of feature films being made and put in theaters, directly adapting or continuing the content from a kid's TV show. The earliest examples I could find were the My Little Pony movie from 1986 and The Transformers, the movie, also from 1986, which I don't know as much about the My Little Pony movie because I'm not a G1 brony, I'm a G4 brony. But I know for a fact that The Transformers, the movie, was set after season 2 of the show, and it is a prequel to season 3 of that show. And there's all kinds of these that have come out. Like you probably can think of some from your childhood, like the Rugrats movie, or I'm thinking of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, where there's again an animated show gets a feature film. And there's some sort of trends you'll see here, like in those, like there's new locations. They're always trying to take the characters from the show and put them in a different setting, because otherwise you're just watching another episode of the show.
Yeah, it's an extended episode of the show, which it's pretty formulaic. So yeah, they need to beef it up to be able to make into a feature-length film, for sure.
they'll introduce new
And there's new
characters, people that
characters.
you hadn't
Yeah.
seen on the show before, to kind of pull you in. That's usually where they'll get like a celebrity to, join the cast as a specific character.
Hmm.
And then you'll often see like new outfits, which is obviously like more, that's for the sake of toys. Like you got to give, to make the big movie
Yes,
experience, like get them all new outfits, and then that way you can sell all new toys.
exactly. Yeah, and all new. They have all new vehicles. So now my Paw Patrol collection can expand. I'm sure next time we like we take the kids to get a toy, they'll want the newest Chase Mobile or the newest Sky helicopter or whatever they are, because they all got new vehicles. And there is a new character, so then there's new vehicles and new toys to add to that too. So because
Yeah, so it's
there's
very
they've
brilliant
built.
on the parts of the spin masters and whatnot for putting this
Hmm.
out and like creating all these opportunities to make money. But I gotta say, like, thankfully I got to see this movie with kids, with a family that I know. So Dominic, Anastasia, and Kateri, if you're listening, thanks for watching Paw Patrol the movie with me, because I was feeling real awkward about going to see this movie by myself. Surprisingly, I couldn't convince any of my adult friends to go see it with me. But
That's not
thankfully
quite
these
as
three
cool as
kids did,
Frozen too.
and I felt way less awkward watching it. And you know what? Even though it's obviously a blatant toy commercial, I actually really enjoyed Paw Patrol the movie.
Yeah, it was not as terrible. Like, I didn't go in thinking it was going to be like an amazing film, but like for what it was really entertaining, even as an adult. And like, I really liked that they did give a little like a little nod to the grown-ups. There was like that part where they ask Ryder how they paid for the tower in Adventure City. Like they go to Adventure City and then all of a sudden there's like magically like a Paw Patrol command center, and like, how did you pay for this? And he's like, oh, licensed merchandising, and he holds up a T-shirt. I was like, thank you. Like I appreciate that that you're like just blatantly acknowledging that this is just to sell stuff. But I really enjoyed it. Like I laughed a couple times. I got a little bit emotional. Definitely like
Yeah, the
loved
way I
watching my
said it to my
kids.
roommate, I'm like, this movie was way better than a movie just based on Paw Patrol deserves to be.
Yeah, it was. It was for sure. Like um yeah, it was really cute, and it was the first time my kids had ever been to a movie. So for that being their first movie, I was very happy. Like I wish I could have brought them to like a Disney film. But like I don't know, because I grew up in, the best time of Disney. Like it's not like I could bring them to go see The Lion King or The Little Mermaid. But for this being their first film, I was very happy with for this to be their first movie, because it was really sweet, and it was very geared to their age. My kids are 6 and under, so it was very geared to them. So I was really happy with
Yeah,
that.
the kids I saw with the youngest was 3, and there were a couple moments. It was her first time being in a movie theater, and for her there were certain points where it was very loud with the action scenes that like she had to go sit in her dad's lap for those parts. But for the most part, they all really liked it. And I'm also glad they made that reference to paying for things, because that's always been one of my big questions about the Paw Patrol universe is like, where does Ryder get his money from?
He's
Because
secretly a
yeah,
billionaire. That's the only explanation.
well, I had a couple of theories. Like one, he's like on the city's payroll, and that's why the mayor's always calling him. Like the taxpayers are paying for the Paw Patrol. And then it's like maybe his parents died and they left him a ton of money, and he's just independently wealthy. Or maybe he has like, I don't know, what are people who give him money, investors that are like invested in his corporation. But we got the answer. It's merchandise. I'm like, how much merchandise are you selling? Because all this stuff's super high tech. I'm like, and then that
Oh,
raised
it's
questions
so
about
high
the
tech.
universe, because
Mm-hmm.
they save a guy at the beginning of the movie who seemingly doesn't know what the Paw Patrol is. And
Oh
part of
yeah,
my
but he's
thinking was,
Canadian, so
well,
that's why. Although Paw
oh,
Patrol
it's
is
because he's
Canadian technically.
Canadian. Right.
Technically, like Paw Patrol is Canadian. Like Spin Master is Canadian brands from Toronto. They like like at the end of the film, the credits, like you see like the movie was partially funded by the government of Canada and the government of Ontario. Like they gave money for whatever their arts grants or whatever, because Paw Patrol is a Canadian brand, but they never specifically say where Paw Patrol happens. It kind of reminds me of BC, because they've got the mountains and then they've got the bay. because they're in Adventure Bay. They've got the water, so it appears to be somewhere on the West Coast to me personally, but they never explicitly say where it is. And because Paw Patrol is so big, you just kind of assume it's American. But yes, the guy that he doesn't know who the Paw Patrol is, he's Canadian. He's bringing pure Canadian maple syrup across the border.
isn't
So
that
I
nice
don't
of
know.
him?
Maybe that's why he doesn't know who the Paw Patrol is. Because
Well,
clearly,
part of me was like, well, maybe why
it'd be
Paw
a big
Patrol
deal.
functions, like why it's acceptable in this little small town when it's like, yeah, like this is how we do things here. But clearly, like they go to the big city in this, and everyone seems to know who the Paw Patrol are, and they're also totally fine with the Paw Patrol taking care of their emergency services, it seems. And they
Yeah.
sell this merchandise that they make money off of, so obviously they're like well known, and it's not just this weird small town thing.
Yeah, they're able to. My question was like, how did they go to the big city and have that tower already built when they just like got that call that morning? Then they hop on their bus and then they go there, and then all of a sudden there's this like magically huge tower. And I'm like, has that just been sitting there waiting for them, or like?
Well, Ryder's
Yeah,
a smart
there's lots
kid.
of holes. He is there, but there are
And
a
like
lot
that
of holes in the
ramp
Paw
that
Patrol
comes
universe.
out when I'm like, that's like
Oh,
holding up a lot
yeah.
of traffic just for them to have a toy ramp to have their cars drive out of.
Yeah, exactly. And like all the lights and like the things have to move. Like it's a pretty big deal. So
That was probably the only part was like, this feels like a toy commercial. When that literally had that ramp coming down, I was like, this feels like a Hot Wheels track. Like my suspension disbelief is such I can believe most of this, but I'm like that. I could literally see the toy. I could see the toy at the command center with the slide coming down. I was like, oh boy.
Yep. Exactly. Like, but yeah, you really have to suspend your disbelief to enter into this movie, because it like honestly makes no sense if you think about Paw Patrol for more than 5 seconds. So,
But it's
but
fun
if
to
you're able
do
to
that,
just kind of let
sometimes
go,
at least.
but it's so fun. Yeah, it is super fun.
It seems like the cast is a mix of the actual actors from the series, and then they have some that are played by other actors. For example, Chase, one of the dogs, in this movie he's played by Ian Armitage, who I know because he plays the young Sheldon on Young Sheldon.
Okay, see, I did not know that. I know that like there was a lot of cameos from I mean Kim Kardashian West, for example, has a voice cameo in it. But I did not know that the guy that plays Chase is also young Sheldon. That's fun.
But he's just
Does he
playing him in
play-
this movie. Like he doesn't play him in the
Okay.
show. But he
Well,
sounded
see, the
like
thing
I don't
is,
really remember what Chase sounds like on the show, but I'm like he doesn't sound like some other actor coming in to play the part, if that makes sense.
no. But if you watch the show, like if you've watched multiple seasons of the show, like I've been privileged to do with small children, they have to change the voice. The voice actors change like somewhat regularly because like as the kids age up, like especially Chase or Ryder, the actor that plays Ryder has changed a couple of times because he's gotten older, his voice changes, so then they recast them. But they all sound pretty similar for the most part. But I'm sure like having someone play like one of the main characters and be like a bigger name is, I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily a draw for small kids. Like they're not going to know who Ian Armitage is, and they're not going to know who Tyler Perry or Kim Kardashian West or
Jimmy Kimmel
are. Like they're not going to know. But like as a parent, like Jimmy Kimmel's character especially, like I appreciated that. I thought that was really funny that it was him. So, but yeah, they're not
there's one
going to know.
MCU connection here because Randall Park plays one of the henchmen, and
Yes,
he of course
and Dax
plays Jimmy
Shepard is in
Woo.
it too.
Yes, Dax
There
Shepard,
you
but he's
go.
not in the MCU, so
No, he's not. That's true. But
yeah, I mean he could be at some point.
Shepard. Yes. Oh yeah, Randall Park is in it. Yeah, so like kids are not gonna know that, but for as an adult, I didn't mind. Like I appreciated that.
So the main thrust of the plot is they leave their comfortable Adventure Bay to go to Adventure City because Mayor Humdinger has somehow been elected the mayor of Adventure City. And I couldn't remember from the show, Mayor Humdinger, in that he's like the mayor of the neighboring town. Is that the idea?
Yeah, he's the mayor of Foggy Bottom, which is apparently like the crummy version of Adventure Bay. Like, it's foggy there all the time, and it's kind of like lame. So he's always trying to become the mayor of Adventure Bay. So he becomes the mayor of Adventure City by no contest, because there's no all the mayoral candidates apparently like had to drop out for some reason. So they don't explain what happened, but it's implied that Mayor Humdinger and his cronies have done something to make it so that he can become mayor of Adventure City, and he wants to make Adventure City fun. That's his whole ploy, is to like.
Yeah, and you know
be
what?
cool
I'll
and make
defend
everyone
Mayor
like
Humdinger because
Oh,
a weather machine that can take a rain clouds would be great, because just this morning, my parish's
oh,
annual outdoor mass was canceled because of rain. And I just
that's
thought
so
to
funny,
myself,
right?
man, if we had one of those cloud chaser things from the Paw Patrol movie, we could have had our outdoor mass. It only happens once a year. This had to be the day. Then it rained. So
Mhm.
I don't blame him for wanting to get away, take away the rain clouds. And then B, I would love to ride a subway that's also a roller coaster. Like, yes, like I'd probably want the like right harness so I don't fall. But sign me up for us. Like, he's right. It's called Adventure City. There should be a subway that's also a roller coaster.
Yeah, I think his ideas weren't bad. It's his execution is very poor, and that's the thing with Mayor Humdinger as a character. He's very impulsive, and he doesn't think about how his actions impact other people. Because in theory, the things that he did, like setting off a bunch of fireworks, like that sounds super fun, but they weren't set up properly or safely, so they shot off, and were like in danger of harming people. And like on Canada Day this year, we set off a bunch of fireworks, and one of them accidentally tipped sideways and started shooting off down the street, and it went into a neighbor's driveway, and it was very dangerous. So like I can see, and like we were trying to be safe, but he just had them piled on a like rickety old stage thing, and it just like
Well, and he also didn't
he
have the
wants to do fun
patience.
things.
He
Yeah, he
pushed
doesn't
all
have
the
the
buttons at
patience.
once.
Yeah, exactly. Like he has no patience. He doesn't have he has very bad impulse control. So he just wants what he wants, and he wants it right now, and that's his downfall as a mayor. Is he really wants people to like him, and you kind of do feel bad for him because he does try really hard. He just doesn't he doesn't give people the opportunity though, because he doesn't have any patience.
I mean, what I don't like about Mayor Humdinger is that he perpetuates this thing that, like, oh, you have to either only like cats or dogs. I'm like, I like cats
Mhm.
and dogs. Why in media do they have to perpetuate this idea that cats and dogs are in opposition to each other? Thank you, Cats versus, or is it Cats and Dogs, whatever that movie was, where Jeff Goldblum tries to solve the
Yeah.
cure for cat or dog allergies. You know, I'm like,
Yeah,
just
it's
let's
true.
just like, ah.
Yeah, cats and dogs can be friends, but yeah, it's because he's yeah, Mayor Humdinger is very silly. Like none of the Paw Patrol don't particularly like Chase is allergic to cats in the TV show, so um he's around. But there is another cat in Paw Patrol called Callie, and they're like not friends with him. But the cats don't talk in the show. Only the dogs. Only the dogs are sentient, like in that sense. Like they like are like people, but they're dogs. It's very weird, um but yeah, only Mayor Humdinger. Mayor Humdinger is the only person that like tries to perpetuate that no dogs, like dogs are bad. Like that's his thing. So that and the
Okay,
color
well,
purple.
no more sympathy for Mayor Humdinger. That's it. You lost me.
That's it. He hates dogs, so we gotta get rid of him.
I don't know about
But
you,
yeah,
but I'm
I don't
like,
know why.
yeah. I don't know about you, Dee, but when I was watching this movie, I'm like, do Rocky and Zuma even need to be here? Because they hardly say anything. They're hardly on screen. I'm like, you could have put Everest in here instead of these two. Like, there's specific
Hmm.
moments that were like, I felt like it's like, oh, we got to like find something for Zuma to do during the finale. So let's invent a situation where he can be
Yeah,
useful.
but I think that's like really the first time that he's been super useful. Well, to be fair, in the show, they have Captain Turbot, and he's a fairy. He has like a boat, and so like he does occasionally need rescuing. So like obviously they need to have the Coast Guard
Yeah, like they
dog.
live on a bay, so naturally in
Yeah,
their normal environment, he'd be more useful. But here
that
he's,
makes sense. But in
I'm
Adventure
like, they
City,
should have
not
just
so much.
benched him. And Rocky too. Like,
Well,
sure, maybe they could have, but Rocky hardly said anything. I'm like, you're almost a non-character here. Like, Sky had
Ru-
lots to do.
Sky
What's
had
the
so much to
bulldog's
do in
name?
this movie. Rebel. Rebel
Rubble.
had lots
Rubble
to
was
do.
funny.
Hmm.
Chase is obviously the main character.
And Marshall
and
rescued a
then
lot of people because he's
Marshall.
a legitimate rescue person because he's the
Yeah.
firefighter and the EMT, so he makes sense. But okay, you have to admit though, like, so in this movie they introduce a new character to the Paw Patrol team. Her name is Liberty, and she's a little like dachshund wiener dog, long-haired wiener dog, and she's really cute and sassy, and like she really really wants to be part of the Paw Patrol. She's the one that calls them to Adventure City. Um, she's really kind of
We don't
loud,
know
and
how
she
she
like,
calls them because I don't know
I
what
know.
kind of homeless dog has access to
Maybe
technology. But
they have like maybe their payphones are video now. Maybe they're so advanced in
oh,
technology that they have video payphones. I don't know. Or maybe she convinced, because she's friends with everybody in the city. Everybody knows her. She's like very well known, so maybe she convinced like the fruit stall owner to like borrow his phone to like call them
yeah,
or
she's
something. I
straight
don't
out of
know.
Oliver and Company.
Yes, very much so. So she like you get an introduction to her when like somebody litters in the subway train, and she's like, "Hey, like pick this up," or like what she
I'm like,
say? She's
that
like,
should be Rocky's moment. Like,
"Yeah,
Rocky is like the recycling guy. The one
yeah."
moment where he could have done something useful, they give it off to the new character.
But you know what she does? Like her vehicle is a Vespa. She doesn't have any sort of rescue quality apart from being able to navigate the big cities, but she becomes a member of the Paw Patrol team because she can like navigate through traffic. Her big
Well,
thing is that she yells at people to get out of the way.
yeah, well,
So
I'm okay
I
with
don't
that because,
know.
like, in G.I. Joe logic, they have a G.I. Joe for everything. Like I mentioned, Snow Job, who's like his whole thing is
Hmm.
winter stuff. So, and we mentioned Everest. I think there's like actually like because Liberty's vehicle has the number 22 on it, so that tells me she's like the 22nd member of the Paw Patrol.
She's not though, because apart from the main one, so Everest is like more of a main one than a not, because she's in a lot more of the episodes because she just lives on top of the mountain that's just outside of Adventure Bay. But there's Tracker, who is a jungle dog, and he has really big ears, and his whole thing is that he can hear really well. And then there is Rex, and Rex is the Paw Patrol that is in the dinosaur Paw Patrol episodes, which there's only like 6 of them. But so there's Chase, this is testing me. Chase, Marshall, Rocky, Zuma, Sky, Rebel. So there's the main 6, and then Everest, Tracker, and Rex, and
Does
then Liberty
RoboDog
would.
count?
I know, but Liberty would be the 10th. But Chase's vehicle is number 2, I think, because Ryder's is number 1. So she should be 11th, but I don't know why her vehicle is number 22.
Apparently, there's Tuck and Ella and
Oh,
Wildcat.
I forgot about Tuck and Ella. I don't know who Wildcat is, but we also only watch it on Netflix because I don't have cable TV because I am a millennial. Um, but
I'm just going off of Wikipedia here. This could
yeah,
be out of date.
I forgot about Tuck and Ella. Tuck and Ella are Mighty Pups. So
Okay. Well, in the tradition of, again, like taking a TV show, making a movie out of it, like, we had in the Rugrats movie, they introduced Dill Pickles, who was like, Tommy Pickles' younger brother, and he came into the show after that. Do you think that
okay.
Liberty, or do you think Liberty should come back into the Paw Patrol show after being in the movie?
Knowing how they treat kind of the secondary Paw Patrol members, I highly doubt she would be in it regularly. Like Tommy's little brother is in the Rugrats. If they did anything, likely it would be like kind of like Tuck and Ella. Like I completely forgot about Tuck and Ella. They're in like 4 episodes when they do Mighty Pup stuff. But they were in the so I don't even think they're in the Mighty Pups movie. So
Now, do you
which
think
like
the
was
show
like a
will just ignore this altogether? Like, it'll just like, do you think the show will not be set in Adventure City? Do you think
oh
they're
I
going to lose all these gadgets and stuff?
I mean, like in the other episodes, like just the way the Paw Patrol universe works, like there's Paw Patrol where they fly in planes, and there's a Paw Patrol where they have race cars, but they don't have them in the gist of the regular TV show. It's just there's all these kind of one-offs. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a one-off thing. Like obviously they're making all sorts of Liberty merchandise, so it's possible that she will return kind of like they do when they go see Tracker um or Rex or whatever. Like if like maybe like 1 or 2 episodes per season she might show up, but I don't think she would be like one part of the main 6 Paw Patrols.
If you put her in there, kick out Zuma or Rocky, because
Maybe kick out Rocky because if they're an Adventure Bay,
she's an
then
environmentalist too. She's a fan of recycling, as was
there you
established
go.
here. Maybe she can drive the garbage truck around.
I don't know if she would though. Hello, I have another little friend.
So you're holding up to the camera again. This is an audio podcast. People can't see this, but we in fact have a Rubble with us.
A little stuffy Rebel from TY Beanie Babies.
Now,
Cause
he was probably the one who was most used for straight up comic relief in this movie, and he did his job well. I'm like, you're much more useful than Rocky or Zuma here.
Stop that. I mean, Rocky helped with the train rescue. Did he not? He did help with the train rescue. And yeah, Zuma he rescued that family, but it's true. It's true.
But Sky is the real hero of this movie because, her vehicle is frankly one of the most useful ones for rescuing people. And in the end, she is the one who actually blows up the weather machine in a very epic move, I must say.
It was very cool. I was really impressed with Sky, because Sky doesn't get as much. Like, Chase is clearly like the favored pup. He gets most of the rescues on the TV show. He's the one that like, he's number 2. Like, he does most of everything. And even in this show or in the movie, you kind of see how he gets, like, he's kind of like the de facto leader after Ryder. He's the one that like is the second in command. And you see, like, in this movie how he kind of, what happens when he loses his confidence. But Sky doesn't lose her confidence in the whole movie. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna go get that weather machine. Like, just watch me go up in hurricane force winds in my helicopter and just like explode it. It was so fun.
Yeah, she's kind of stuck in the Pink Ranger role as like being the one girl who wears pink in the group. But in this movie, she was probably actually my favorite character. I'm like, I enjoy everything you're doing, and even like the scene on the bus when she's like, they're like all sleeping all around her, and she's like, oh man, like what am I doing here?
Oh yeah,
and she's the one who talks Chase down. She helps him when he's like paralyzed with fear. I'm like, Sky, best pup. Well done. I wanted to just give her a little pet and be like, you're doing such a good job. And she had a jetpack. Yeah. I'm like, you're the coolest.
She is. She has, and her helicopter's really cool. Yeah, I like Sky. She's fun. And she feels like she jumps, and she's like, I'm just gonna jump and like wait to initiate my jetpack so I can fly to safety.
Yeah, she was a real baller.
Now
Ryder and Chase, they're definitely the main characters of this little movie here. And Ryder's leadership style, very interesting, because he seems to know, he's very tactical. He seems to know exactly what to do. Or like arriving upon a scene, it's like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and it always seems to work out well on the show. But the one tactical mistake he makes in this movie is he kind of says, oh, Chase, you'll be fine, even though you have trauma from living here. It'll be fine, it'll all work out. And I'm like, maybe you could have just let him stay behind, I mean, obviously the movie would be a lot shorter if he did stay behind. But there's one point where Chase flips out at him. He's like, what kind of leader, that like benches their people like this? And I'm like, yeah, I think that's a valid complaint. And in my opinion, Ryder was redeemed too quickly.
Yeah, I think it's not in the beginning when Chase kind of says like, oh, I don't want to go back. So the context is like, I guess Ryder found Chase in Adventure City as a small pup, and like Chase has trauma from that. Like, he doesn't want to go back to the big city, and he tells that to Ryder, and Ryder kind of dismisses him. He's like, oh no, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Like, because I think maybe if Ryder had given that speech to Chase that he gives him at the end, once like Chase flips out, because Chase 2 times Chase tries to save people and he gets paralyzed, or something happens. The first time he kind of misses, and he forgot to put away his parachute, and he falls and he gets trapped and he has to get rescued, which is probably very embarrassing for him. And then the second time he freezes. He's up high and he's trying to rescue people from the upside down train, and then he freezes, and Sky has to go up in her helicopter and rescue him because he's just terrified. And then Ryder's like, oh, maybe like you do need a break. And that really upsets Chase because he's like, I trusted you. You said I was going to be fine, and I'm not fine. So the speech that Ryder gives him that about how he's actually like a brave pup, like, or after they rescue him from the pound
Jail.
or wherever the jail, the doggy jail that Humdinger's crony set up. Like if he was able to kind of articulate that at the beginning of the movie, obviously there would be less conflict between him and Chase. But at the same time, like, you do see that Ryder does have his best interest at heart. He just isn't good at articulating that at the beginning.
It's just kind of shocking because the show generally presents him as like the ultimate tactician who has the answer to everything, and it's like it's
And he has
good
all
for
the
his
gadgets.
humanity. It's like, yeah, he knows he has, and I'm like, no, like even good leaders make mistakes, and he owns up for it. Like as you point out, he doesn't like try to push the blame Chase. Like, I'm sorry, it's my fault. I thought you'd be okay, and obviously you're not.
And like I liked that the movie did show, like, for someone with small kids, like it showed like Chase was still scared. Like at the end of the movie when he goes to rescue Ryder, because Ryder gets trapped in an elevator that in a tower that collapses. When Chase has to decide to do he's scared but he's brave in his fear. Like he decides to overcome his fear by trying. Like everything he's done, he has to do this, but he does. Like I think it's good for kids to see, like, yeah, things aren't always easy. Things aren't always going to go how you think they're going to go, and you are going to have to do hard things, or you are going to have to work through being afraid. And like it's okay that you're afraid, and it's okay that you don't feel comfortable, but there is a way to work past that, and there's a way to work through that, and to remember that you're loved and you're valued and you're cared for, and that you can do hard things. And you see that process. You see Chase work through that process kind of at the climax when he goes to rescue Ryder. And I think that's
he goes
a really
through
good
an
lesson
identity
for kids
crisis.
to learn. Yeah. And
Like,
that's really hard.
He has this idea in his head that to be a hero, you have to be fearless. You have to do everything without ever being afraid. And perhaps for the TV show's duration up until now, that's how he's operated. He's never been truly afraid of anything they've had to do because he saw himself as a hero. I think this is I agree. It's a good lesson for kids to learn that, no, like, it's okay to be afraid of things, and it's okay to move forward even if you don't have total certainty that everything's going to be okay. But what I also appreciate is that, the stereotype you see in kids shows or kids movies is like, someone makes a mistake once and it's like, oh, I feel so bad. Like I did a bad thing. And then it's like the next time I did it. Yay. Everything's okay. But as you point out, no, Chase has 2 screw ups, both like very, I would say, like embarrassing, traumatic experiences for him. Almost bordering on like a kid friendly version of PTSD.
Yeah, he basically
before
has
he
PTSD.
finally kind of gets over what's holding him back. And to me, that's like, this is a good moral of the story to show kids, is that, it's not, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to make mistakes multiple times. It's not like, it's not like a TV show where you learn your lesson and you move on and you never make the same mistake again. Cause I'm guilty of that. I make the same mistakes all the time.
Yeah, it's not realistic to think like, oh, once I've tried this once, I'm gonna never make a mistake again. Like, we're constantly make mistakes. And I think the other thing too with Chase's story is like, because Chase kind of sees himself as like a de facto leader under Ryder, that he tries to do things by himself. And I don't think that in the show or in the movie, like, Chase tries to position himself as like, oh, look at me, like, I'm the leader, I'm so great. Like, that's not it at all. But I think that Chase does kind of have this thing, like, he can do it himself. Like, he doesn't want to accept, like, he has to accept help from Marshall and Skye when they rescue him. But you can kind of see that really kind of knocks his ego down as well a little bit. And I think that, like, in the show, like, it's all about teamwork and working together, but often, like, Chase is the one that does all the rescuing. So I thought it was really good in the movie that they did show the other members of the team kind of getting their time in the spotlight. Like, Marshall does kind of almost the majority of the bigger rescues. Like, he puts out the fireworks fire, he puts up his ladders and helps all the people out of the train, kind of thing. Like, and then Skye being the one to destroy the weather machine, et cetera, et cetera. Like they all got a chance to kind of to shine a little bit more, which was really nice. But and to accept help from other people. Like they all had to work together to rescue the people from the train. And but you saw Chase, like he's like, I thought I could do it by myself. And then when he kind of realizes, like, oh hey, like we all do have to work together.
And I hate to say it, that's a lesson for not just the kids in the audience, but for us adults as well. Like we need to be reminded that you know, whatever identity or whatever role we're trying to live out of, there's probably lies we're telling ourselves about what it means to be that thing. And we're, you know, we could probably dive into a whole separate conversation on the nature of that. But to say that this movie does a good job of introducing that concept to kids, and, you know, it's just important, guys. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to not be perfect. And if you are believing lies about yourself or who you want to be, then talk it out with someone who you care about. They'll set you straight.
Mm-hmm. And they did it in a totally like right on a kid level, and they had it, and it was done, and it wasn't too scary, and the whole movie kind of wrapped it up in a nice little like humor package as well. Like there was like lots of comedy, and there was like, you know, underwear. Like my 3-year-old laughed hysterically a couple of times when you see Mayor Humdinger's underwear. Like he thought it was the funniest thing ever. Like he probably didn't totally get all those concepts being younger, but definitely my 4 and my 6-year-old, like they definitely were able to walk away, and we were able to have a conversation about that after, like, you know, like about those things. And it was just a really good launching off point, and especially because now, like in our society, there is a lot more ability to talk about that kind of stuff, like mental health stuff, and how, like, you know, we're not in this kind of keep a stiff upper lip, or like, you know, don't share that you're having a hard time. Like it was a good opportunity to say, like, you know, like we can talk about those things, and it's safe to talk about those things. And yeah, also you can laugh at underwear. But what do you think the main takeaway for this movie is?
You got to sell merchandise if you want to make money.
Okay, yeah, it's true. That was number one. Number two was you.
Ethically, I'm like, is that on the level? Is that like on the same level as Peter Parker selling photos of himself to the Daily Bugle? Like, you guys are doing this hero work to be altruistic and serving the community, blah blah blah. But at the same time, you're happy to shell out your images for money so that people will buy you your stuff. You know, it's a little skeptical, but you know, I can see why people would want to have Paw Patrol merchandise, because that's the reality of the world we live in.
That they kind of broke the fourth wall in that for sure, but I think in the existing outside of it exists outside of our space and time. It's in a different universe. It's in the multiverse somewhere.
Oh no. I wonder if there'll be an MCU thing next. Goodness. No, okay, a serious takeaway for me from Paw Patrol the movie. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cliche, but you accomplish more working together than you would on your own. And it's okay to not be the best at everything, and it's okay to rely on your friends for help.
So true. I think that's a great kind of summary of the movie.
So obviously we're not looking at this movie through the same lens that we would others, but it's still, I think it's fair at the end here to give it a back cookie rating.
Okay. We give it out of 4?
We give it out of 4, and you can do as many decimal points as you want.
I'll give it 3.62 back cookies.
Wow. Okay, that's the first time we've had like that many decimal points, but that's great. The dad of the family I saw it with, he gave it 3.5.
Okay.
Out of 4
so I gave
cookies.
it slightly higher.
Yeah, considering my expectations were so low, it surpassed my expectations, and I found myself really enjoying it. I would probably watch this again under the right circumstances. Like, it's not something I'll go and watch on my own. I probably would want to have children around to watch it again.
Like if you were
But
gonna
I was
come over and
pleasantly
babysit my
surprised.
kids, you could watch it. Yeah.
Yes, I'll happily do that if I get to watch the Paw Patrol movie again. But
Do you want to watch my?
yeah,
my son's
I'd
again.
agree with the dad. I'll give it 3.5 out of 4 bat cookies, and that's probably one of the highest ratings I've given a movie that's come out in recent years. So
Yeah.
Paw Patrol the movie is now in theaters. If you're living in the United States, I think it's also available on Paramount Plus at no additional cost. But in
not if you're
Canada, I think
sad
you can.
Canadians.
Another streaming service we can't get. Just great. But it is available. It is out in theaters now. So if you feel safe going to the movies, please check it out. Especially if you have kids. I don't really recommend it for adults who don't have children.
Yeah, it's valid. Find some
people
kids
who do have kids
that
in
you
your
know.
life, you will enjoy it. Like be prepared for a good time.
It's very family friendly. It was great. I don't regret going, and I would definitely encourage all my friends with children to, if they like Paw Patrol at all, that they will really like this movie. So go see it. Thumbs up. You can't see my thumb, but it's up.
If you want to reach the show, you can send us an email at
batjarpodcast@gmail.com.
or you can tweet us at
The Bat Cookie Jar.
You can find the Bat Jar Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube, because we got a channel. Share our posts on Facebook, write reviews, give our shows a rating. This will help all people join us inside the Bat Jar, and we appreciate it dearly.
So normally we would go inside the Bat Jar to pull out a topic for next week, but we've mentioned earlier, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings comes out next weekend. It's hard to believe we're already at our next Marvel movie, considering Black Widow just came out in
Wow.
July. But yeah, so our next episode will be about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And I, of course, want to
Very
thank Dee Dee
exciting.
for inciting this episode on Paw Patrol, and for her and her children for joining us tonight for this episode.
My pleasure. Did we have a good time? You said yes, we're having a good time. But yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for chatting about the Paw Patrol universe, and I look forward to hearing what you guys talk about next week.
So when we come back next week to talk about Shang-Chi, until that time, I'm still Average Joe.
I'm still Dee Dee.
Catch you on the flip side.
See you later.